The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening or this morning if you're in a different time zone. We're just waiting for everyone else to join us. So we're just going to give it a couple of minutes until about 2 minutes past the hour and give everyone time to get settled in. Hi, everyone. Just about to start our webinar, so we're just giving another minute to have everyone else join in. Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us today for the Taskfeed Summer 18 release webinar. My name is Jessica Graham Morris. I'm the Customer Success Manager at Taskfeed. And before we continue, let me go over some housekeeping basics with you. This webinar is being recorded and you'll receive a link to the recording in a couple of days in your email. During this webinar, you may ask questions in the GoToWebinar chat window to your right, and we'll take some time in the end to answer as many questions as we can. Your feedback is very important to us. They help us make Taskfeed better for you. So don't keep your thoughts to yourself. If we can't answer your question during the session, don't worry, we'll follow up with you afterwards. And here with us today is the founder and CEO of Taskfeed, Andy Mahood. Andy will be walking us through the Taskfeed Summer 18 release, including our highly anticipated new feature, Subtasks. And this concludes my introductions. Andy, over to you.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining, and thanks Jess. So we're going to be spending the next 30 minutes or so looking into what's new in Taskfeed Summer 18 and what we've been sort of busy working on over the last few months. So this release is really a combination of what we've been doing over the last few months and kind of building on the roadmap that we put out at the end of last year. And it's all around our belief that customer success starts with customer onboarding. And we want Taskfeed to help you manage all aspects of your high-touch customer onboarding process. So this is from ensuring a smooth handoff from sales to onboarding, then on to customer success, all the while collaborating with your customer and measuring those definitive KPIs needed for your team. So the end result, we hope, is that you have a better experience with your team, less chaos and uncertainty for you, and working this way is sure to delight your customer. So in December, I shared a vision, a roadmap with a large group of our customers for what we wanted Taskfeed to be in 2018. So onboarding plans are not just a collection of tasks and deadlines. We want to turn each board into a workspace where you can collaborate internally and also with your customers. The concept is going to come together in totality over all of the upcoming major releases of Taskfeed throughout this year. So you'll notice, looking at this version of the roadmaps, this is the version that was circulated in December of last year, that we're now in June, and we've missed that spring release, which was originally targeted for actually February, March time, where we wanted to release subtasks and board stages, and also a complete rewrite of the application to improve the performance, stability, and security of the application. The work required to deliver the fundamental building blocks for this roadmap took a lot longer than initially anticipated, and that's that last piece there, those under the hood improvements. So that item to rebuild a major part of the product to improve performance, stability, and security. So until this year, I, as a founder, was still responsible for all of the product development, and this was just not sustainable, as it was impacting our speed to deliver on what we knew that you all wanted. So in the first quarter of the year, we hired a team to manage the product development, and with that team now ramped up and in place and led by a chap here in the UK called Mitchell, that team is ramped up, and we're really confident on delivering on our updated roadmap. So Summer 18 will be available in a few weeks' time. I'll run through the logistics with you sort of later in this session. And Summer 18 is built all around subtasks, and it's the culmination of all that hard work we've put into completely rebuilding the application. So in actual fact, we've actually completely rebuilt everything to sort of allow us to deliver on this roadmap. So now we're over that hump of delivering that. We're really confident how we can deliver against this through the rest of the year. So following this release, we'll be delivering a complete update to the UI to improve the way that we're aligning with Salesforce's direction in terms of the Lightning framework. We'll also start to see the first signs of our vision around kind of board workspaces, bringing together these concepts of board stages, board teams, where a team is not just your own employees, but also your customers, and having customer roles and role-based assignment with your customers, all the way through to fine-grained and discrete template import controls. Then later in the year, we're going to be looking at providing access to things like external sharing analytics and notifications, request and approval around resources and resource requests. And we also have an ambition where by the end of the year that, at least for the majority of cases, managing and editing and updating task and list templates will be done within the browser through a dedicated UI rather than using a spreadsheet, which I think for those people managing templates, that should be sort of huge news. And we're also going to be delivering a group of Lightning components to improve the experience within Lightning. So I'm about to put out a poll now, because I'm really interested in understanding from the people on the call which new feature you're most looking forward to. So I'm just going to launch this poll, and it asks which one of these features that you're most looking forward to from this roadmap out of subtasks, which we're going to be looking at today. Board stages, the ability to break down a board into a number of different stages and track its progress, using like a similar to like the Lightning sales path. Board contacts, the ability to assign customer contacts onto the board with roles, assign them tasks where they can see those tasks through external sharing, and then template editing user interface within the browser, so you don't have to fall back to using Excel or Google Sheets. But we've added in something else, so if there's something else that you want to see that we haven't listed, or one of the things we did list that didn't make this top 4, then please vote for that. So we've almost got all the votes in. I'm just going to close the poll in just a minute. Seems like almost everyone's voted now. So I'm going to close that poll, and I'm not actually sure if you see those results. Let me share my screen again. Here we go. So I'm not sure if you actually see those results up there, but about 70% voted for subtasks, which is great because that's what we're all here for. So today I'm going to give you a really great breakdown on subtasks, and then there's an even spread between board stages, contacts, and templates. And something that's quite positive is that we didn't get any votes for something else, which, you know, please pick up the phone and tell me if I'm wrong, but that kind of sounds like our roadmap's really chiming with what you're expecting us to be delivering, which is great news. So while it's fun, to talk about the future, let's bring ourselves back to today. So we hear from our customers of all sizes that they've got this need to manage complex plans, or break down their work into logical groups, for instance, phases or milestones of a project, or perhaps just grouping a set of tasks under a single theme, such as an implementation or deployment or training. So we hope that we've helped to solve this problem for you today by adding subtasks into Taskfeed. So subtasks will let you define the subtasks in your template, much like you do with dependencies today. You can even define discrete templates that can be imported into a task as subtasks. So we'll see how that works. And there's also the ability where you can take a task and all of its subtasks and copy it. So an example of this might be if you've got a set of workshops that you're delivering for a customer that you want to split across a number of different locations or a number of different departments. You're able to clone that workshop parent task and all the subtasks around scheduling and organizing it, and create a second around that. So we're going to see an example of this today as well. Okay, so we're going to look at 2 scenarios. One where we define the entire plan in a single template. The next where we have a high-level process defined as a simple template, giving us the outline of an onboarding plan, and then use subtask templates to import subtasks underneath a specific task. Okay, so it sounds a bit convoluted, but you know, when you see it, it makes complete sense. So let me just jump into the browser here a second. And here we go. So we're now looking at Taskfeed Summer 18 release with subtasks within a pre-release environment. So the first scenario we want to look at is that we've got a template defined. So let me show you what that template looks like in actual fact. So we've got a template here called projects with multiple milestones. And for those of you that are familiar with managing these templates, you may be familiar with how you define dependencies today using the predecessor reference column in your template. So going forward, we're adding a new column called parent reference, which works in exactly the same way, but allows us to create that hierarchy of tasks. So in this example, these 3 tasks are all grouped under stage 0, which is the milestone 1 kickoff. So those that are familiar with predecessor references will probably immediately get this. Those of you who are not so familiar, we've got some great video and resource content on our knowledge base that will explain this to you. So what I'm going to do now is go and create a brand new board. So we're going to call this Acme Project, and I'm going to select the board type of project. So by selecting the board type of project, it means that a template I've got predefined is going to be automatically imported. So now I hit save, and it's going to create that board and import all of those tasks for me automatically. So I'm not going to add any board team members right now. So in this board, we're actually, at this moment, we're seeing just the parent tasks being created here. So we see the 5 different milestones. At the top, you can see we've actually got 28 shown because that's the number of tasks that there actually are within this list. We're just hiding some because the others are all subtasks. So let me toggle that on and off. So we've got this option to toggle subtasks. So now that we've turned subtasks on, we can now see the full list of tasks available to us. We can identify parent tasks by a new icon that shows the count of subtasks. So we can say we've got 0 of 3 subtasks, 0 of 3 again, and if I scroll down, we've got 0 of 5 here against milestone 4. So that's how. So a parent task will have this label on it to tell us how many subtasks are on that are against that task and how many have been completed. We can identify a subtask because it has the label just above the name that shows us its parent. So if we look at this kickoff call, its parent is milestone 1 kickoff. I can also drill into a parent, so I can only see tasks related to that group by selecting either of these labels. So I can click on this milestone 1 kickoff label, and it's going to just instantly drill me into that parent task. So now we're seeing all the tasks related to the milestone 1 kickoff. And I can just, and we know that we're drilled in because we see this nice breadcrumb along the top. We can see we're in the Acme project, looking at the milestone 1 kickoff task. So I can just click on the board's name and it pops me back. So now I can, if I scroll down, I can drill into the milestone 2 requirements, drill into that, and we're seeing the 3 tasks associated with milestone 2 requirements. And then we just pop back quickly again. So this works really well when we've turned subtasks off. So if we just want to operate at a much higher level, we don't need to see all the detail of this project. We can operate at this level, and if we want to drill into a specific milestone, I can just click on this label, see all the details that we need. You can even just go and sort of drag and drop one of those tasks here and move it into this in progress list, and then just quickly move back. If I drill into milestone 1, select kickoff call, mark it as complete. So it's just going to move over to the complete column, and then when I move back to the Acme project, that's going to be marked as 1 out of 3. So we can see that one of those tasks is completed, means we've got 2 remaining. So drilling in and out is super fast, just clicking on the board's name, and this is thanks to all the work that we've done over the last 6 months rewriting the front end of the app. It removes any of the issues that we've had with parts of the app reloading, and just makes the whole experience a lot more fluid. And we've got this option at the top again, which is toggling subtasks where we can turn everything on, or just look at the top level view. When I drill into a level like milestone 1 kickoff, when I add a new task, it's going to automatically associate as a subtask against milestone 1, just as you'd expect. So in this template, we've got this little naming convention. So I'm just going to follow that 1.4. I'm just going to call it another kickoff task. And when I add that in, it's going to automatically get added, and you'll see that it's been added as a subtask of milestone 1. So when I come back here, we've now got 1 of 4 tasks. So that's how, for this type of template, subtasks operate with the board view. So the most common views that our customers are using are this board view and also the plan view, which is like the Gantt chart view. So let's have a look about how subtasks are represented within the plan view. So from the plan view, subtasks just become obvious, like as if they're always meant to be there. Let me just turn this on and off. Here we go. So the plan is shown as a tree, so you can now collapse each level. So in this example, I'm able to collapse milestone 1, milestone 2, milestone 3, milestone 4, and milestone 5. This means we can just focus on one part at a time. So something to note there actually is we're going to be adding a collapse all and an expand all option here. This is just a pre-release environment. But let me show you how you can just zoom in on one. We've got milestone 2, and we're able to see just the activities around milestone 2. And we can see all the dependencies really clearly drawn. So, so those of you that are familiar with the plan view may notice that this looks slightly different. So we've taken the opportunity to also redesign the plan view to make it much easier to interact with and to make changes to the plan. So just like always, we're able to zoom in. As we make changes to the plan, it's much easier to see those changes happening, and it's much faster to see those updates happening as well. So you see, as we updated that task, it pushed out all those dependent tasks just as we'd expect. But the scheduling has been redesigned too, to take subtasks into account. So when a subtask is moved, let me zoom out a little bit so you can see the overall plan. When a subtask is moved, the parent task's dates are actually recalculated based on all those subtasks associated to it. And then because a task can be dependent on a parent task, it means that as we move out one of those subtasks, the parent task gets recalculated. We then recalculate down that dependency graph all the way down for our whole entire project. So if we see that again here, if I was to make this task take 20 days, for example, we're going to see the parent task pop out, and then all the other tasks move down a bit further as well. Maybe if I do that a bit further out, you'll see it a bit more clearly. So I'm going to make this 50 days now. And as I let go, it's just going to update the whole plan and push everything out for us automatically. So what this means is that when you've got a parent task, you don't directly edit the dates for the parent task. These are always controlled by their subtasks. If we do go in and try and want to edit, edit a parent task, you'll see that we actually make those dates disabled and give you a note telling you that these are going to be controlled by the subtasks. So this means that if you want to make changes to those to that parent task, then it means adding or just changing the subtasks associated with it. So this is the first scenario where we've modeled a complex project within Taskfeed using subtasks. We've seen how we can toggle the board view, drill into subtasks, and then use the plan view with subtasks to focus on specific areas of our process. I'm just going to take a moment before I go into the second scenario just to see if we've had any comments come in. Okay, so there's been a question that's come in around will there be the ability to set up a warning, either a message or prevention, so that you cannot mark a parent task as complete when the subtasks are not marked as complete? And this is a really great question. So because it's an important thing for us to actually give you the details on. So within this first release of subtasks, we've decided to not enforce any strict behavior around how the subtasks behave, around how the subtasks act, other than what I just described around the scheduling of dates. So with the scheduling of dates, when a task has subtasks, you no longer edit the dates of the parent task directly. To update the dates of the parent task, you have to change the subtasks. Okay, and that allows us to have this really rich ability to calculate the dependencies downstream. It allows us to adjust the subtask, which updates the parent task, and then cascades all the way through the project. The other examples that we have explored or even considered, or actually some of them we added and took out, is things like having the ability to stop someone completing a parent task before the subtasks are completed, or as all the subtasks are completed, automatically complete the parent task. And we've had checklists in Taskfeed for a long time, which are kind of the natural precursor to subtasks. And when we had similar questions around how the behavior of subtasks. Our decision was to not add this enforced behavior in from day one, but to listen to feedback from customers and understand what their expectations are. We're also in a privileged position where we can take advantage and our customers can take advantage of tools like Salesforce Process Builder, where if they do want those behaviors to be in place, then they can be implemented using tools like Process Builder or Salesforce validation rules as well. So those are all definitely possible. We're just not building them into the application out of the box from day one. We've had another question around how many levels of subtasks can you go. So again, in terms of keeping the initial release of subtasks manageable, we've added just one level of subtasks to, so a subtask cannot subsequently have subtasks. This is something that we're going to be exploring with customers as we release subtasks, because it's something that we know that I think customers can benefit from. We want to make sure that we understand the impact that has on the whole product first. And finally, there's a question of, can you also have checklists along with subtasks? So you can. I think one of the demos I'm going to be showing you shows how that works. So you can have checklists working alongside of subtasks. Okay, so let me move on to the second scenario. If you do have any more questions, do ask them in the GoToWebinar chat window, and I'll tackle them as we come against them. So in scenario 2, we're going to look at a slightly different approach for how we think subtasks can work within Taskfeed. So in this scenario, we've created a template for an onboarding process where we define the outline of a process within a single template. We can then decide to add additional detail to each stage of subtasks. So this can be a great solution if you want a broad process to be followed, with discrete details being defined for various types of customers or based on the product selection. So let me show you how this works. So I'm going to go and create a new board and call this Acme Onboarding this time. I'm going to choose the onboarding type and link it to our Acme account. And so now what will happen is our outline process template will be imported, which has 20 different tasks, but only a small number of parent tasks. So notice that implementation has no subtasks assigned. We don't see the subtask label on the implementation task, which means it doesn't have any subtasks. So what we could choose to do is, if we know that it's a very simple implementation, we could just use checklists, or we could just add a description for what we need to do. But in this case, what we've actually got defined is a number of subsequent templates that we can choose. So I could go and choose, actually, rather than choosing import template at the board level, I'm going to use a new option we have available where at the task level, we can import a template as subtasks. So we've got this in this new drop-down and this new option against the task where we can import a template as subtasks. And we get the same or very similar template selection window that we had previously. And in this case, we've got a number of either sort of vertical or segment associated templates. So this could be where you might have a different approach for different segments, different verticals, or different types of products that you're implementing. In this case, I'm going to choose SMB implementation. We get a preview, and then I can just hit save, and it's going to import that template for us. And you'll see that as quick as that, we've added those tasks as subtasks against the implementation task. So if we have a different or another implementation process that needs to happen at the same time or alongside as part of this project, I can just quickly add a new task and import either the same template again, which was never possible before, or import a different template. So let me call this, I'm going to create one called FinServe implementation. You should never type live on a webinar. So I'm adding that in now as a new task. And I'm going to just move that up alongside this implementation task. So the next one, I'm going to set this task to be, I'm going to set it along the same time. I'll set that as the 25th. So now I'm going to go and import a different template against this one. So I'm going to choose this FinServe implementation, which is just slightly different. And I'm going to import this template. And you'll notice that as we import this one, it's going to, not only is it going to update to show that we've now got the 6 tasks, but it's also updated the dates of this template. Because I originally scheduled it for June the 25th, but as I imported the subtask, that actually pushed out the duration of this task to be now 15 days, because we've got 15 days worth of subtasks. I can drill in and show you the details. So these are all the tasks involved in the FinServe implementation. And we can see what this looks like from the plan view. So when we go into the plan view, we can see what everything looks like in totality. We can see we've got the kickoff, some workshops, the core implementation, the FinServe implementation, and then the launch. So in this case, actually, the FinServe implementation isn't dependent on anything. I'm going to make the FinServe implementation dependent on this workshop as well. So I just need to drag from the workshop down to our FinServe implementation, and it's going to create that dependency for us. Let me just collapse those again. So it's just created that line for us to show that all of those are connected. So this means that any changes that are happening upstream in the kickoff or the workshop are going to impact both that first implementation and the FinServ implementation as well. So I think this is a really interesting way that you can, where you have, I guess, parallel processes happening. These can be defined as more discrete templates rather than having a template cover your whole entire process as like a monolithic template. You can kind of break those down to have like a base or an outline template, and combined with smaller templates that populate as subtasks, either around verticals, products, or different processes that need to happen. So along a similar line, customers always tell us that time to time they need to repeat a certain part of their process a few times, and this could be based on maybe delivering training or workshops to different departments or at different physical locations, or based on the customer's size, they might have to repeat some workshops or kick off a number of different times, or repeat training a number of different times. So let's say this workshop task that we have, this needs to be split out into a sales workshop and a customer success workshop. So first of all, I'm going to rename this one to sales workshop. So now we know that we're dealing with, this one's now been updated to sales workshop. And then what I'm going to do is actually copy this task. So that should have updated now. Sorry, let me just reload this. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, this is as this is a pre-release org, we do have a few things going on. So this is a sales workshop task, and this contains a couple of subtasks. So now we want to run a customer success workshop following the same process as we do for all our other workshops. So rather than importing another template again, what I can do with this one is just go and copy it. So copying tasks is something that we've had in Taskfeed for a while, but now we've got new copy options in there that allow us to also copy child tasks, they're called here. We should probably rename this to subtasks, but it allows us to copy child tasks here as well. And I'm going to rename this to customer success workshop. And when I hit save, what that's going to be doing is now copying both the task itself and its children and its subtasks. And we can see that from the plan view as well. So we've now got the sales workshop and the customer success workshop, and we can go and adjust the dependencies for these as we need to. So I can just delete this dependency here, join these two together, and we might say we don't actually want this customer success workshop to be dependent on the kickoff anymore. We want it to be dependent on the sales workshop because we want to know what's happening in the sales workshop before we move on to the success workshop. So I can just build that dependency right here for us, and it's going to update everything as we need. Let me just do that again. There we go. There we go. So that's now pushed out the customer success workshop, rescheduled it, and I could also come in and remove this dependency and say that actually the implementation is going to happen after the customer success workshop. And as we're making all of these different changes, the plan's just being shifted out slightly to accommodate this workshop as well. So if we know that this isn't, let me move some of these, if we know that this isn't going to happen on the 20th, but it's going to happen on, say, the 25th, then as that plan gets updated, it's going to push out everything downstream for us as well. So I'm just going to pop back to the questions and take another look. Okay, so we've got a question come in saying, when importing templates to parent tasks as subtasks, can that take into account dependencies on other parent tasks? That's a great question, and you can kind of see us getting into this. You know, as we've been sort of building this functionality, I've had quite a few days where I've kind of worn my brain out trying to think about the impact that these things have. So so what you're able to do today, for those that don't know, is on a template, you're able to define a dependency reference to a task on a completely different template. So the purpose of doing that is that you assume that or you're making the assumption that other part of the process is going to be already included. So this is where you might be stacking up multiple templates on top of one another. So we've got quite a few customers that are using templates in quite an advanced way, where they're actually stacking templates on top of each other based on the different products being delivered from their portfolio. So if they sell 5 different products, they'll have an onboarding process for each product. And within those, they might also have add-ons. And when they import an implementation, like a process or a template process for those add-ons, then those add-ons will assume that the product implementation that relate to has already been imported as well, and can kind of build these relationships dynamically. So that's exactly how our import subtask against a parent works, and it will work exactly the same for subtasks. So if you import a subtask template underneath a parent task, and it has a link to a dependency for another task that's already on the board, for example, the kickoff, then that dependency will get picked up as it's imported, and everything will get adjusted as necessary. So yes, that's a great question. We've also had another question come in here. So if you have a chance, can you explain how milestones will be implemented in reports? So that's a really good question. So right now we've added this concept of parent tasks. What we're adding to reports is, and we're adding fields in the background to make reporting on parent tasks much easier. What you'll have is the ability to see that a task has subtasks. The data points that you have here saying sort of 0 out of 6. So total number of subtasks, total number of completed subtasks will both be available through reporting as well. And when it comes to time logging, we're also looking at adding a second set of fields that give you kind of an aggregate view of time logged. So for instance, if you were to log time across a number of different subtasks, but you want to create a report at a parent task level, we've heard from customers that want to report at that kind of aggregate level, summing up the total time logged against all those subtasks. So while that's not in the product as we're demoing today, it's something that we may have for the release. If not, it will probably come shortly after. We have had a number of other more specific questions. I think those ones are probably best that's probably something that's probably best tackled sort of offline, because they might have some specifics to your own implementation, especially how I'm reading them anyway. We've had another question coming around. Will the baseline feature be available for subtasks? So yes, it will. So this is one of the things that we really wanted to do with subtasks, which is kind of make them equal to tasks. They are just tasks. So if I drill into this kickoff, in the same way that a task can have multiple contributors, this task also has checklists assigned to it. We can log time against subtasks. And exactly the same way, if I set a baseline, we'll set a baseline for all the subtasks as well. So you can either think of subtasks as like checklists on steroids, or for some people, checklists do the perfect job of exactly what they want to do, just breaking down the task into smaller bite-sized chunks for them. But for the majority of our customers, they've really wanted checklists to always do more for them, and that's exactly what subtasks do. So hopefully that answers your question. So that's everything from the demo. If you do have other questions about that, please ask it, and I can always pop back at the end of the webinar and go over anything again, or follow up with you afterwards. I'm now going to move on to a summary of subtasks, and then more about the logistics. So with subtasks, you're able to group tasks together. We've now got the collapsible plan view. We're able to copy subtasks as a group. We're able to import templates into subtasks. Right now, there's just one level of subtasks. However, actually, I'll pick up the person that asked that question sort of later in the week, because it's something we want to explore. So it's definitely something we'll explore with you. And parent task states depend on the subtasks. So these are some of the rules and some of the ways subtasks are working today. But we're really interested in your feedback. So we've thought a lot about how we release upgrades. In our last major release, we included an auto upgrade option. So this gives the power back to you. So if you don't want to receive auto updates, you can opt out. But if you do want to always have the latest and greatest version of Taskfeed, then you're automatically opted in, and we'll push those updates available to you as soon as they're stable and reliable. We'll push those out to you, and you'll be automatically updated. So you always have the latest enhancements, the latest bug fixes, and the latest new features. So if you do not want to receive auto upgrades, then you can opt out at any time in the settings of Taskfeed, and you can manage the upgrade yourself through the App Exchange. So if you do want to opt out, then check our knowledge base for how to do that. Just search upgrade opt out, and we've got lots of details of how to do that in our knowledge base. So for the release, we staged the release into various key dates, including sandbox availability, production availability, and also auto upgrades. And this is to allow our customers with complex implementations of Taskfeed or complex Salesforce environments an opportunity to test the upgrade in the sandbox first. For everyone else, the upgrade will be automatically rolled out in early July, but it will be available towards the end of June, where you can upgrade your production directly from the App Exchange. So for those that just want to install it themselves and take it, then they can do that from June 25th. We just give it a week or two afterwards before we push it out to everyone. If you do come up with any issues or you're unable to resolve yourself around the upgrade, or you're unsure about this process, please contact us at support@taskfeedapp.com. We'll be sure to help. We'll be releasing more comms around this as these dates approach. So if there are any other questions, please ask them now, or you can follow up afterwards at support@taskfeedapp.com, and either Jess or myself will pick those answers up and get back to you. We're going to hold the webinar open for a few minutes afterwards to take a few questions. You're going to be notified as we approach each of these key release dates, and also once we have the release notes available, we'll share those with you. Finally, if you've not already, I'd really appreciate a review on the App Exchange. I'm personally very proud of all of the 5-star reviews that Taskfeed has so far. I really enjoy reading them. It's really great to see them, and I know that they really help new customers when evaluating Taskfeed. So if you could, please take a moment to leave a review. Just go to the App Exchange, appexchange.salesforce.com, and search for Taskfeed, and you should be able to leave a review there. One other thing I wanted to highlight was that we've recently released a customer onboarding benchmark report. So this is some market research that we did as a company into customer onboarding, specifically high-touch customer onboarding. And you can download that from our website today, the analysis and the report into that, which talks about sort of the technology, organization, and trends around customer onboarding. If you go to our website, scroll to the bottom, you should see a link to customer onboarding benchmark report where you can download that today. So thank you very much, and a recording will be sent out in a couple of days. I don't think there are any questions. Is there anything else that you want to add, Jess?
No. Thank you everyone for your participation today and for sending your questions. There has been some great questions and great feedback, and we're looking forward to releasing that in a few weeks. And if you have any other questions, just send us an email. You'll also be receiving a survey in a couple of days along with the recording of this session. If you can take the time, you can add some comments to it, and it's incredibly valuable to us because it helps us make Taskfeed better for you and better webinars as well. So thank you, everyone.
Okay, I'll just take there's a couple of questions that have just come in, Jess, so I'll take those, but if you're done, feel free to drop off. There's a question that's just come in recently about any updates to the table view. There aren't any massive updates to that. It has been kind of refreshed as part of the whole app rewrite. What I'll try and do is make a note to follow up with you to kind of see what it is that you're looking for from that. It's actually a view that we don't use internally an awful lot. So I'd be very interested to see how you're using that and what could be added to it. I guess one thing that has been added is that the filter has been made a lot faster and improved a little bit, but nothing substantial to the table view itself. And there's been a question about when and where can we learn more about stages and contacts. So this is more about forward-looking things in our next release, which are already under development. So we've got the team's working on a complete new UI, which includes board stages, which looks really cool. Actually, some of it's already complete. It's going to operate, board stages is going to, we kind of draw a similarity to opportunity stages, especially opportunity stages within Lightning, where you have the new Lightning path. Essentially what you'll see within a board is each board will have a Lightning path above it where you're able to configure those stages. We're also going to track in the background how long you're spending within each stage to give you even more advanced reporting on that detail. We're also quite interested to see how we can tie baseline into that, so you can kind of see which stage you should be in based on the baseline, and also what stage you should be in based on the success of other projects. So that looks really cool. We'll be sharing. What I'll try and do is I'll try and put some sort of information out as early as possible around that. So run a session like this a lot earlier into the process, now that we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves a bit. And with contacts, so we see board contacts working very similar to how board team members works today. So with a board team member, you're able to look up a user and add a role to them, and optionally you can choose them to automatically assign to a role. So the way we see this working, or the way this will work, is that you'll be able to add, in a similar way that you add a board team member, you'll have the option to say, do you want to add a board team member, or do you want to add a board contact? If you had a board contact, then you look up a contact against the account that the board's related to, or another account within your system. You can define a separate list of board contact roles. For example, the way that we work is when we're implementing Taskfeed, there's usually like a primary contact. There might be a system administrator. There might be a business owner. And what we want to be able to do is map those customer roles against specific tasks. And when we assign contacts against those customer roles, they get automatically assigned to those tasks, and they can see that visibility against those tasks within external sharing. The longer term view for that is we'll also be able to enable configurable notifications to those contacts as well. So if that contact is assigned a task, we now know who that contact is, what their email address is, so we'll have the ability to actually notify that person about a summary of their tasks, or when a task is due, or ask them if they've done a task or not, that kind of thing. We'll try and share more of that as we get closer to the time. And we've had another question that's just come in around reports. That's a good question. So something that we want to do around at the same time that we're releasing board stages, and because board stages open up this whole new world of reporting possibilities because of the work we're doing with tracking how long you're spending within each stage. At the same time that we're doing that, we're going to be releasing a new dashboard pack, which will essentially be sort of a definitive customer onboarding or project reporting dashboard pack, which will contain many more out-of-the-box reports and dashboards that are available through Taskfeed. But what we should probably do, I'll try and follow up with this question later in the week, or myself or Jess will, where we can actually dive in and understand what it is that you're looking for specifically. Okay, so I'm just going to hold on another minute. If there are any other questions, I'm happy to take those. If you'd like, what you will be receiving in the next couple of days is a recording of this session, which you can share with your team, forward on to your team as well. We'll be putting it on our website as well, so you can just forward that link to the team if you miss the email. And as I said, when we're reaching those milestone dates around the release, then we'll be in contact with you via email as well to let you know when the release is available in the sandbox, when it's available for production upgrade, and you'll be notified prior to us pushing it out to you, giving you the option to disable the auto upgrade if you want to. Okay, well, again, thank you so much for attending. I hope this was insightful for you. We will also be following up with quite a few things. We will also be following up with a survey to see how valuable this was for you. We realize we haven't done a webinar like this around release in a while. So we're interested in your feedback from that. What worked, what didn't, what wasn't valuable, what was valuable, what you want less of, what you want more of. So please, when you see that come in, don't ignore it. We're over the flurry of GDPR emails, so don't ignore it. Take a look at it. Give us some advice and recommendation. That'd be great.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. So we'll be following up with some of your questions offline as well. So we're looking forward to your feedback.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Bye.